The Bharatiya Janata Party has accused Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, of harboring what they call quote-unquote anti-India sentiments and working against India. This after he was pictured with US Congresswoman Ilhan Omar during his visit to the United States. Of course, his statements earlier was also scrutinized. They were called ones that reflect an anti-India sentiment, ones that malign India's image abroad. That was hotly contested by the Congress party, who has, of course, disputed this by saying that criticizing the government does not tantamount to maligning India. But now this new controversy that has erupted over Ilhan Omar. So who is Ilhan Omar? Let me give you the backstory. So over the years, Ilhan Omar, who, like I mentioned, is a congresswoman in the United States, her words and actions have elicited outrage in India. And I'll give you a few examples why that has happened. The first example is from September 2023. Ilhan Omar had written a post on X, earlier known as Twitter, where she condemned the killing of Khalistan separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar and had urged India to extend its full support to Canada's probe into India's involvement in his death. So she clearly came out in public to endorse the view that it is India's doing or India's backing that has ensured the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who's a Khalistan separatist and openly backed Canada. In fact, urged the United States government to support Canada in its probe. So her statements at that time drew backlash from Indian politicians across board. Even Shiv Sena UBT member Priyanka Chaturvedi had at that time asked the Indian government to probe into American interference, drawing from Ilhan Omar's statement. The second example comes from a year earlier, from April 2022. Again, this congresswoman visited Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in April 2022 on a trip that was sponsored by Islamabad. So there she met Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Now, while she was in Muzaffarabad, she said that the United States Foreign Affairs Committee had inquired into the reports of the human rights violations in Jammu and Kashmir, indicting that India has been resorting to human rights violations in J&K. So her visit drew swift backlash from India, with the spokesperson for MEA condemning this visit. In fact, Arindam Bagchi at that time said that it is all right for Ilhan Omar to make these statements in her home territory, but to travel to Pak-occupied Kashmir and say such a thing violates India's territorial integrity and sovereignty. So this visit was met with sharp criticism from the Indian authorities. Third example comes from June 2022. Now, on the 22nd of June 2022, Ilhan Omar introduced a resolution in the Congress to condemn human rights violations in India, specifically those targeting Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Dalits, Adivasis, and other religious and cultural minorities. So this was pretty serious, because this was actually an official document that Omar introduced in 2022. The resolution called on the US Secretary of State to designate India as a, and note this, country of particular concern. This she wanted under the International Religious Freedom Act. So there was a resolution that Ilhan Omar introduced calling for India to be branded as a country of particular concern, a move that can, of course, lead to economic sanctions in extreme cases. So that, of course, again became a major issue to protest against, and why she became a person that India looked at with contempt. In fact, Ilhan Omar at that time said that the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, which is a consultative government body, has been recommending this designation for India for the past 3 years. The designation, as I said, is to make India a country of particular concern, and thereby one that could invite economic sanctions. This did not go down well on the Indian government, quite clearly. So given these reasons, the three instances that I quoted, of course, were more recent instances. There were other smaller examples as well, which has drawn the ire of the ruling party and the government of India. So the BJP head of IT cell, Amit Malviya, has put out a post now saying Pakistan-sponsored anti-India voice, a radical Islamist and an advocate of independent Kashmir. That is how she is being described, and which is why Rahul Gandhi meeting her is that kind of a sacrilege. So Rahul Gandhi arrived in the United States on Sunday on a 3-day visit. The idea apparently was to strengthen the bond between India and America. On Tuesday, Rahul met a group of American lawmakers. They included Jonathan Jackson, Ro Khanna, Raja Krishnamurthy, Barbara Lee, Hank Johnson, and others, including Ilhan Omar. Of all these people, that one name that caused discomfiture was that of Ilhan Omar.